Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where I've been thinking about it in between episodes, and I think this change to cargo storage, all it really does is it encourages me to actually have ladders on my lander, right? So I think it's something that I can get used to. I think that it's going to require a little bit of adaptation, but it's not unworkable. I think it's completely, ultimately fine. Now, the one thing that I don't like about it is how much longer it takes to get a little ways away from the rocket to set up your station. That is something that I don't like about it, but that is pretty much the only real complaint that I have. And ultimately, that is workable, and let's get out of here. We've already finished up everything that we wanted to finish up on the moon, so let's go. We may as well head reasonably straight up at this point, and we're going to retract our landing legs. What is our current apoapsis height? Well, we're going to go up a little bit higher here. I do want to get us rotated a bit. Something along the lines of this. Probably would have been better to go the other way, but that's fine. And let's go ahead and start working on getting into orbit. Because, of course, we need to get home. Jeb, Bill, and Bob don't want to live on the moon, turns out. So, we're not going to force them to. We're going to bring them right on home. So up we go, and we're just going to continue burning slightly above the horizon here for a little bit until we are at around an apoapsis of 20k perhaps, at which point we'll probably do a maneuver node. Yeah, this is fine. We're getting a lot of horizontal speed, of course, and we're leaving our landing site behind, which is completely fine. We will be back there. The question is, how close will we get? It has to be pretty close now, since we can't just jetpack over. Okay, so we're at about 20 kilometers apoapsis right now. That should be fine. And then we'll just go ahead and push that out, something along the lines of this. Do we want escape velocity right now? What would that look like? Probably not. Okay, we'll just do something along the lines of this. We'll burn most of the way, but that'll be okay. So this is going to be a 32-second burn, and this is going to be pure prograde. I would normally lock on the marker, but Jeb doesn't have the skill to do that quite yet. So we're going to move this to T-minus 32 seconds. And we'll, of course, warp over towards that. There we go, and we'll burn now. We don't actually care about getting to this exact point in space, so we'll just burn prograde. And we will make our way right on home. And yeah, the adaptation that we're going to make here, of course, is we're just going to put a ladder down here. We're going to have to move the angle these are anchored on at, but that's not a big deal. So ultimately, yeah, it takes longer to set that stuff up. But I can get over it. It'll be fine. Our time to apoapsis is drastically increasing. We are now officially in orbit. That's great. Of course, we're going to continue burning here because we're just trying to get to a pretty high apoapsis. Actually, this is probably fine. We'll call this good. And yeah, this is a pretty elliptical orbit, but I'm interested in seeing what actually happens if we do a prograde burn over here. Yeah, that would just be escape. So that's fine. So realistically, we should probably do it over here. And let's look at changing our position of this. That is pretty nice. Something along the lines of this. That'll do. That's only 196.1 meters per second. We're going to want to burn this at T-minus 14.5 seconds. Okay. But that looks like a great return to me. So we'll burn this in just a moment. Warp forward a bit. This is a little bit late, but it should be okay. I warped forward a little further than I should have. But we'll just go ahead and burn this anyway. It's not like we have a shortage of DV here. We'll be okay. Adjusting our heading slightly. There we go. And we want this periapsis to, of course, be identical. Or close to it. Right around 50 kilometers is what I'm targeting for right now. 210. There we go. Kind of hard to see there behind Kerbin, but that is 50 kilometers. So that is ideal. Wonderful. So which side are we coming down first? It will be this side over here. It's usually the darker side, I guess. But that does mean that right around here, we probably want to do a nice radial retrograde burn and burn off the rest of our fuel to something along the lines of this would be absolutely fine. We might even be able to land this thing as is. Like, just move this up here. We might be able to. We might have the fuel to do it. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and warp to about here. Goodbye, Moon. You were fun. The inventory issues were less fun. Okay. Hello, Kerbin. We're on our way. We're going to stay in orbital retrograde here. And of course, we're going to have to get substantially closer. We're going to need to move off of orbital retrograde, but we'll do that once we are... Actually, I'm just going to warp to next maneuver. So we're going to want to burn this at T-minus 1 minute and 2 seconds. Which is fine. It always feels like we're coming in so fast like this. Excellent. Okay, we'll go on to Stability Assist, and we will park right in the node. Wonderful. 1 minute and 2 seconds. And this is going to be a ludicrous amount of science that we're going to get from this, by the way. And cash, for that matter. 1 minute and 2 seconds now. Get that radial retrograde burn going. Very nice. Always happy to see that. And yeah, 30 kilometers will be more than safe for our re-entry. And we'll have plenty of fuel left over to land with. Not that we'll have to thrust to weight to actually land this thing propulsively, to be clear, but it'll still be nice. And if we have to get rid of these, we can, but I don't think we have to. Excellent. So we'll be re-entering relatively shortly. This is our re-entry burn here. And we're bleeding off just a ton of orbital speed, which is always great. This is going to be another 570 meters per second. So we're going to be entering at about 2.2 kilometers per second with plenty of atmosphere between us and the ground. No problem whatsoever here. And we'll have about 300 meters per second to burn with. But as usual, I want to hold about 10% or 10 seconds worth of burn for the landing burn. It's not that we need that much, but that's what I like to do. So we've got plenty of fuel in the tank for that. No concerns whatsoever right now. Our periapsis is beginning to drop now. That's good. We do want it to be a little lower than this because we would absolutely not enter the we'd not stay in the atmosphere at this point. We would enter it. There's no doubt about that. And we would enter it again. And again, and again, and again. It would take a long time to aerobrake off that much speed at that altitude. Okay, we are getting extremely close here. Just going to do this much more slowly. I do really wish that we could lock to node, but we should be able to after this with Jeb anyway. Valentina won't be able to, and this looks absolutely fine to me. So we will sit on surface retrograde now, and we are going to be entering the atmosphere momentarily. So yeah, we're actually lower than that 2.2 that I was saying because that was our orbit velocity. This is our surface velocity. Completely different measurements. Oh, this is our radar altitude. Sea level altitude, thank you very much. Wonderful. Now we are officially in the atmosphere. Great. So we're going to hold this attitude, and I'm going to physics warp as we descend a bit. This will be absolutely fine. And as soon as we start seeing the atmospheric effects, then I'm going to burn off the, what is this, 28 seconds? Yeah. 28 seconds of fuel that we've got. And we'll keep 10 for the actual landing. Now, I believe we're probably going to be landing in water, aren't we? Hard to say at this point, honestly. Hard to say. Okay. Let's go ahead and burn off those 28 seconds. Wonderful. We've still got a fair amount of burn time, but not much DV. That's okay. We don't need much DV at this point. 10 more seconds in this re-entry burn, and that will be absolutely fine. And we'll stop this burn now. Wonderful. Let's see. KER, where are we going to be landing right now? Impact biome deserts. Now that will probably change as we continue to drop through the atmosphere. Yeah. This is going to be in water. This is 100% going to be in water. And I'm hoping it'll be in daylight water. But the Terminator is right up here. So there is that. We did decelerate pretty dramatically. Of course, we have no heat shields here. That's something we should consider. But I don't think we'll have a problem. We're still pretty high up. We've got a lot of air between us and the ground. So that's great. I don't think there's any point in deploying the landing legs as we come down, but it looks like we are going to be coming down in the night, which is a little bit unfortunate. I was hoping that it would be more like twilight. Of course, it may end up being twilight. We'll see. We are decelerating pretty quickly at this point, so that's great. I'm a little surprised that we still have 1.0 thrust to weight. That will definitely change as we continue to decline through the atmosphere. Yeah, 1.01 now. And it's just going to keep going down. We're not going to have any problems with this re-entry, though. This is going to be completely okay. And we're 100% going to land in water, and it looks like it's going to be in kind of twilight is where we're going to be landing. Pretty much right on the Terminator. And that's great. I actually like that. So we should be able to deploy our drogue chutes pretty soon. There's our drogues being deployable. Excellent. And our main shortly after. There goes our main. I actually deployed that slightly early. It was still risky, and I was a little bit concerned about that, if I'm honest. But we're good. We are good. It did not break. So that's fantastic. We'll go ahead and physics warp down towards the surface. No real point in having SAS on at this point. The parachutes will hold us in attitude. And the drogues will be deploying now. And the main will be deploying now. That brings us down to 13 meters per second. That's a little bit on the speedy side. That is a little bit on the speedy side. So we are glad that we have the extra DV for a little bit of a burn here. It's not going to slow us much. It is not going to slow us much, but it is enough. This is enough. Boom. And looks like nothing broke. Perfect. Apparently, we don't have a surface sample here. Oh yeah, we weren't able to get surface samples until we upgraded the science facility. We'll have Bill hop out and grab the surface sample. Excellent. And then we will collect everything that we can. There's a lot of things that we can't collect. And then we will have Bill hop out and grab a surface sample, and he will hop in and store that in our module. Perfect. And then we'll recover this and get roughly 1 trillion science and dollars. Wonderful. technically they're not dollars. But you know what I mean. We're going to get a lot of money. We're going to get a lot of science. Look at that. 766 science from that. Insane. And we completed returning home from the surface of the moon, and we brought the moonstone back with us, and science data from surface of the moon. That's great. So next, we probably don't want to do any of these. I don't think. The science data from space around Kerbin is something that we can do immediately, and I need to do that now before I forget. And as far as having 2 Kerbals that transfer crew over Kerbin, that is something that we should probably do soon. So we're going to transmit that data, and there we go. Contract complete. Science data from space around Kerbin. Easy peasy. Anything else in there that we want to do? Of course, we need to get started pretty soon on our moon mining station. We know that we need one of those. At least I think we do. Yeah, we definitely do. Oh, this was the VAB. I wanted to check the contracts. Get out of here, VAB. We don't need you yet. And then we probably want to do a little bit of a lander revision. So we're going to go in here and yeah. I don't think we're going to do any of these right now. I think we're fine financially for the moment. Let's hop into the R&D here, and I think we'll just grab aerodynamics and miniaturization. This does give us access to the GUOB and to the EVA experiments kit. So that is definitely something that is interesting. Never used this before. Okay, and then we probably want heavier rocketry to get access to the mainsail. We know that our moon rocket's first stage is slightly underpowered. So we'll grab that. For precision propulsion, do we really care about any of this? Perhaps not. However, the weather analyzer is something that's good. The relay antenna is good as well. A programmable controller? Okay. Better panels would be good. I think we definitely want the weather analyzer. We'll take that. And we definitely want ladders. This is a thing that we certainly want. So we'll take that. We learned that we need those. I think we don't really need anything in here at the moment. LT2 landing struts would be nice, but they aren't strictly speaking necessary. And having access to... Let's see here. The Rockomax Jumbo 64 would actually be good for us too. So we'll take that as well. Okay, so there's our science spent, and let's go ahead and modify our moon rocket a bit. So, we'll go ahead and open the Pratihara Lander Mark 1, and we know that we need a few modifications here. I'm going to take this tail fin off, and the skipper comes off. I'm actually going to take off the Rockomax X232 as well. It'll be slightly more efficient if we instead run the Jumbo 64 here. And we're going to do exactly that, and that is this guy. I'm used to it being orange in here. Much better. My life is now better. Okay. I'm thinking about maybe having this be a double stage if we're using a mainsail. We'll have to look at the thrust to weight about that, but this would definitely be able to reach a lot further, and the mainsail is, of course, this guy. We would need to move the Pollux down, down. And that's okay. That's absolutely something we can do. It doesn't need to be in like that. But it does need to be moved down, and we would place it then over here, have it be bicoupled like that. That looks good. We could go to liquid-fueled side stages, but I don't think that's necessary. So we'll take these guys and move them down to about here-ish. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. I'm not necessarily okay with how this strut was auto-placed. That's not great. We'll place it like that. And then as far as aerodynamics go, do we have a better nose cone for this now? Yeah, that'll work fine. I do want to have a nose cone on there. That'll be great. We'll redo this strut as well. Not that it matters, it's just a visual thing. Okay, so the question now is, what is the thrust to weight of this stage like? That's great. What about without the side boosters? 0.65. However, I'm wondering why stage 8 isn't showing up in here. Awkward. Very awkward indeed. This only goes to stage 7. All stages, please. There we go. Okay, so we can see 0.65 here. If we get our altitude up to 70 kilometers, this would still not be enough weight. Or this would still be too much weight. Okay, that's good to know. So in that case, what we're going to do then is probably not this. Because even at vacuum, a mainsail on its own can't lift this. But what we could potentially do is instead of running a mainsail, what if we were to put an engine plate on here? I forget where that's actually in. Engine plate. So this would be a EP18. That's a little small. I don't think we have an EP25, which is unfortunate. But what if we were to run, say, hypothetically, quad swivels here? Now, that's a little on the small side. We would definitely need the EP25 for that. But what would that thrust to weight end up looking like? That is much lower. Okay, not what we're looking for there. So we've got the mainsail here, and this is a lot of weight. This does, of course, mean that we should consider perhaps sizing up our SRBs, or perhaps cutting down this stage a little bit. That said, I am interested to see what the actual speed at SRB detachment is. So let's launch a test launch of this. We're not done with this, obviously. I do want to put ladders and experiments into the lander. But I want to test this as is, just to see what our SRB detachment speed is. If it's high enough, then our thrust to weight on this center stage doesn't actually matter. I suspect it won't be high enough, but we'll see. It was a little slow off the pad. There's no doubt about that. Do we have these downrated? The Polluxes? We may have the Polluxes downrated, and if that's the case, we may need to increase that. Of course, we don't have the fins on this currently, and that is something to consider aerodynamically. Yeah, we're going to be flipping here, looks like. Yeah, thanks, lack of fins. Okay, so this is an invalid test, clearly, because we need those fins on there. This isn't super shocking to me, but I should have done that. Definitely. So we'll quad couple those fins onto here as control surfaces. This is not exactly the angle I want them at. That's better. Okay, are these downrated? They are. So we'll uprate the Polluxes that extra 10%, and let's see what our actual speed is at detachment. Am I going to bother doing a turn? Honestly, probably not. We're definitely going to revert this. There's no doubt about that. But I'm only trying to determine right now if we need to increase the power on our add-on boosters to make this effective. That is the only goal of this particular test. Okay, so it's about a minute more of burn time here. That's fine. And we'll go ahead and do a bit of a turn here. Give it some real-world data. Or real-world adjacent data, anyway. So we're definitely getting some speed going with those uprated. That's interesting. We'll just hold it here for now. This will be fine. And actually, no, I don't want to hide that. Thank you very much. Okay, about 25 more seconds of burn time on these. We're getting a lot of speed. It did feel a lot better off the pad, too. Let's go ahead and do a stress test aerodynamically. Looks good. Okay. We're definitely cruising here. Yup. We're good. We're completely good here. Okay, so that's a good first stage. We now know for a fact that our first stage is solid. Very happy about that. Our second stage here we know is already pretty good, and that just leaves this up here. So obviously in this cargo storage unit we no longer need this. Let's go into our science area here, and no, into our cargo area here. And I want to put in, we should have an empty slot here. Yes. I want to put in an EVA experiments kit. Like that. Now, that's only one. We can actually have multiple in here. We can have up to 2, it looks like. Good to know. Now, here, we do not need an experiment control unit. I'm thinking that we probably don't need additional power because we should have enough power. Let's see. We are going to be bringing a Guob ED monitor. We're going to be bringing... We've already got an experiment control station. That requires a unit of power, but each of our solar panels should be producing 2 because we have engineers. So it was deployed by, I believe, a level 1 engineer. So we should have at least 4 power up there right now. So that's enough for the Protodobenine experiment control station. That's enough for the weather analyzer. That's enough for the ED monitor. And it's enough for 1 more experiment as well that we don't currently have. We can bring up another solar panel, though. That's not a problem. And then we've got ourselves our 2 EVA experiment kits. I don't know what those actually do. We'll have to experiment with that. But we do know where our hatch is. In theory, our hatch is, I believe this one is our hatch. Not this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this one's our hatch. And I'm going to rotate these guys along this axis a little bit here so that our hatch isn't obstructed. Like that. Maybe move it up a little. Because I wasn't necessarily happy with where those auto attach points were. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. And our hatch is, again, I believe this is our hatch, so we should then work on ladders. And we don't need this to be quad-coupled. Although I suppose we could. We could have it be quad-coupled, so that no matter where they come out, they've got somewhere to grab onto, in theory. And then have it come down like this. And then one more set. And then ideally, we'd have, like, one of these. One of these lads right here. Now, that doesn't actually fit there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move it up a little. Because I expect it will extend down quite a ways, and I want to select it. Apparently, we're not selecting it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Fantastic. And then we could position that just, like, right here. And then that would extend... like that. That would be more than long enough. Hopefully it doesn't break when it goes into the ground. Okay, so we're going to retract that, and then we're going to save this. And in order to test this system, and I do want to determine which of these is the actual side, because I don't want to carry this extra mass. So I want to determine which of these is the actual side, but I want to take off this decoupler, and we're not saving this. And then we're going to launch. Okay, so which of these is the actual side? I think I know which one it is, but we'll find out in a moment. Okay, so we will have Bob EVA, and it is exactly the side that I thought it was. Fantastic. So I am noticing that he does not have the ability to climb this area, which is a potential issue. We'll revert that back to the vehicle assembly, of course. And we will need to load in, not the auto-saved version. We'll need to load in the Pratihara Mark 1 here. That's this guy. And we can safely have this be placed here, and then duplicate it, and place another one about here, and then move this guy on down like that. Oh, like that. Oh, no. No. Like that. There we go. And then move this guy down, say, to here. Okay, so we'll save that. And now we should be able to make our way through here. Excellent. So we'll test that without saving it, since we just did save it. Okay. So we'll extend our landing legs here as soon as it loads. There we go. And we'll test our mobility enhancer. I'm noticing that there is some goop in the way here that we may wish to move. We'll have Bob EVA here, and glorious. It's almost like ladders are a useful invention or something. Okay, and then he'll climb right on up. Technically, he could EVA report and surface sample here. Okay. I guess we'll do that. And then he climbs right on back up. He gets a little bit stuck here. That's unfortunate. Okay. We'll revert that back. And in that case, he climbed down this, no problem, but he didn't climb up it, no problem. So my next question is this. Is this ladder long enough that we could just stick it up here? Now, of course, we're going to have to change the angle it's at. But we can do that. We can just do something kind of like this. Yeah, that's not quite long enough. However, that does connect in this way. And then from there, maybe we could have a second mobility enhancer that connects in like that. And then I do want to take this off and run it quad coupled in over on this side instead. Actually, I'm going to run it up here instead. Like that. And then I want to run these guys. See, yeah, that one's going to connect there. So instead, we're going to want to run it like inside of here in an awkward manner, or perhaps from the bottom in like that. That actually works. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to discard these changes because I'm a moron. And we need to load in the Pratihara first. Now, we could attach it in, but we'd have to do an awkward maneuvering to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that. We now know what we want to do with these, so we're going to take that off of there, and that will attach in... Not like this. Not like that at all. We'll just leave that like that for now, and we'll just temporarily... No, don't do that. We'll just temporarily detach this. Emphasis on the temporarily, and then we'll attach that in something like... Not like that, but like... How did I do that before? Oh, yeah, it was attached over here, wasn't it? And then like that. Yep, perfect. And then this one was just attached up here, like this. Okay, and then that connects in like so, and does not break this stage. Perfect. And then as before, no, don't do that. As before, we take this on off. We don't need to be coupled here. And we place in that guy there, And then we rotate it to be approximately like that. Extend that ladder down. Okay, and then we duplicate that. And we place it over here. About like that-ish. And the question is, what is that going to actually do to our Kerbal? Okay. So let's save that. Take this off and test it. Hopefully our Kerbal will be able to get the correct mobility now. I do wish we could adjust the length of the extendable ladder, but it doesn't seem to be an option. And this is a relatively tall lander, so I'm not super shocked by this. Okay, so let's go ahead and extend our ladder on out. There we go, and let's extend this one as well as our landing legs. I'm interested to see what this movement does to our ladder. Looks like that's completely physics-less, so that should be okay in theory. We'll have Bob EVA, and we'll see if he can climb straight down. It looks like he can. That's great. There was a bit of concern up here, but it looked like it was just getting a little bit stuck. That's fine. Let's try up. Up was where we had a problem before. That looked solid. Let's see about this transition up here. Perfect. Magnificent. We'll go ahead and revert that back. And that is the new design of our lander. I feel like that fixes pretty much every issue that that lander had. So that is wonderful. Technically, I probably should have called it a Mark II, but I couldn't be bothered. At any rate, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to go put more science on the surface of the moon. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.